Republicans on Capitol Hill voting down President Trump's mega bill today in the Budget Committee. NBC's Sahil Kapur is on Capitol Hill with the latest on that. Sahil, take us inside that Budget Committee hearing this morning. What happened, and did leadership expect this vote to fail?
No, they did not expect that, Gabe. It's a significant setback for Speaker Mike Johnson and for the Trump agenda. Essentially, what we saw is Republican leaders tried to call bluff on the hardliners, and the hardliners cast their votes, showed that they're not playing around in their demands. Specifically, 5 of the Republicans on that committee defected and voted with Democrats. That's Chip Roy, Ralph Norman, Josh Brecheen, Andrew Clyde. The 5th one, Lloyd Smucker, his was simply procedural so they can bring the bill up again. So the reality is there are 4 Republicans who are opposing this bill. Their beef is largely that the package, in their view, uses a bunch of budget gimmicks and procedural tricks to essentially front-load the benefits and the goodies there while backloading the spending cuts and the challenging, the painful items. They insist that those cuts and savings be moved up faster in order to win their votes. Otherwise, they call the package swampy and very typical of what happens in Washington. Nevertheless, the House Budget Committee Chairman, Jody Arrington, decided to remain optimistic about the future of this, said there's some value in putting these members on the record so they can kind of have the clarity in terms of what they need to do next. Take a listen to some more of what Jody Arrington said.
Their hearts are in the right place. Their motives are pure. I share their convictions, and I share their desired outcomes of changing some of these policies and making the bill better. This is not the right venue to do it. That's what I told them, but they have to make those decisions themselves. But no regrets. We debate, we call questions, because that's what leaders do, and I think we made progress today.
Now, it's notable that soon after that vote, the Freedom Caucus put out a tweet insisting that no, they're not actually taking down the Trump agenda. They just want a little more time. They just want a few more pieces of it to be negotiated. So they're leery of this idea that they're actually tanking the Donald Trump agenda, which is what gets us to Sunday evening when Jody Arrington and the Budget Committee plans to meet at 10 p.m., highly unusual, especially for Sunday, to do another vote at this.
And Sahil, you bring up not wanting to upset President Trump. How would that look like over the next couple of days? It feels like Republicans may be waiting for him to get directly involved like he has before. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, we should expect President Trump to get more involved here. He is the only one who can get 218 Republicans on the same page for something this challenging. It is his agenda at the end of the day. It's about many items that he campaigned on. And these hardliners, the reason Trump is so essential to this is that these hardliners who are holding out right now represent dark red districts where Trump is particularly popular, much more so than congressional Republican leadership. And a lot of these voters who support Trump want their members of Congress to toe the line on the Trump agenda, not to be obstacles, which is why some members of the Freedom Caucus are ultimately sensitive about this. So if they get some of what they want, such as moving the Medicaid work requirements up, I talked yesterday to House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. He said that date is going to move up from 2029. He didn't say when. So that's what they got to balance here, giving these hardliners some of what they want without alienating the swing district and centrist Republicans who are going to be key to whether they can hold the House majority. They're already feeling the heat on the Medicaid cuts. What they don't want is even more political pain in the near term.
And Sahil, we had some reporting yesterday of a potential deal between moderates who want an expanded SALT cap and hardliners that want the bill's cuts to come online sooner. What do we know about that?
That's right. And you just bring up the other big headache that Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican leaders have. There's a determined bloc of about half a dozen Republicans from high-tax states, mostly New York, that are threatening to take down this entire bill over the state and local tax deduction, specifically, or known as SALT. Specifically, this $30,000 cap that's in the bill currently, they say that is not nearly good enough for them. So they want that cap expanded. And Speaker Johnson has said if that cap is expanded, that's going to cost money, which means they need more savings, which gets us back to that Medicaid question. Chip Roy said he wants those Medicaid work requirements to take effect immediately, right away. It's not clear he's going to get that. But if they can move that date up from 2029 up by a few years, they could save a significant amount of money, which could be used to fund SALT. So this is the Rubik's Cube that Speaker Johnson is playing with. Can he get it all done by Sunday? That's his new self-imposed deadline when the Budget Committee plans to meet. And by the way, Gabe, that's going to be essential if Mike Johnson is going to meet that deadline, his own deadline of getting this done by Memorial Day weekend, getting the full bill out of the House.
And Sahil Kapur, I know you'll have a busy weekend, and we'll be up on Sunday. So thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.